Hello and welcome to the Honey Badger. I am Dr. Naff, and I am here to talk about some more experiences that I have had. If you are new to this channel, we talk about all things metaphysical, whether it's things that I've experienced in real life, things I've experienced in dreams, or just things that I've studied. It's all going to be on this channel. It's not going to be anything that is on a schedule. So if you do like these videos, hit that bell icon so that you know when I do post a new video. Today, I'm going to talk about this apartment in which I am living in. I've been here for 3 years, and there have been quite a few things going on. Most of it has been in the last couple of years, but there have been some really interesting things happening recently, which I do want to talk about because they're fairly new to me. So let's start with the recent stuff first, I guess. Last night, that's how recent this is. Last night. So I was sitting on the couch playing a game. My husband's asleep on the couch in my lap. He's exhausted, right? So it's just me. And I'm playing a game. And out of nowhere, I hear from the kitchen. Now, we're an apartment. Obviously, this background's not my house, but we're an apartment. So it's a small space. And I'm not that far from the kitchen. And I hear this hissing sound. But it was this weird kind of hissing sound. Like, it sounded almost like in frustration kind of hiss. But there's nothing in my kitchen that makes a hissing sound other than like our Instapot, which isn't on nor is it plugged in. So that's the only thing that could be making a hissing sound. But it was so loud. It was so loud. There's probably one time, and this is back when I think I was 19. I was walking up to the door to get inside to this house that I was living or renting at the time. And I heard a hissing sound, and it sounded like a snake. But looking around, we didn't see anything. It was really weird. It's kind of like that, but it wasn't, I don't know, it was just so different. It was such a different sound. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like kind of sound. It was so weird. I've never experienced something like that. So I don't know. That started happening. But when my husband woke up from his little nap, I told him about this. And earlier, he was in a class, he was teaching a class. And he said when he was teaching, now I was on the couch, so I'm like right behind him, and I didn't hear anything because I wasn't really paying attention. But he was saying that he heard this beeping sound as if someone had turned on a toy or something. It was like that kind of beep. But there was nothing here on the desk that would have made that sound. Now, granted, much like I have right now, he's got the same earbuds that I do that he uses for teaching. So it could very well be that maybe there was some beeping going on with his earbuds. But at the same time, man, we experience stuff like this. I won't say often, but we experience some interesting things. Now, like a week or two ago, I think it was maybe Tuesday after Valentine's Day. It's February of 2026 right now that I'm making this video. So a couple of weeks ago, and I was in bed. He was in the bathroom getting ready for work. So it's still dark outside. It's just after 6 a.m. And I hear this loud bang at the end of the bed. Now, we have a coffee table that we use as an altar for like music stuff and whatnot. The good energy, you know what I mean? So we keep that in the bedroom because I have a hard time sleeping. I have bouts of insomnia where I just can't sleep or I can't fall asleep for several hours. And I don't sleep for very long or I wake up throughout the night. So I've been trying to create this energy that's a little more soothing. So I have essentially a music altar that's at the end of the bed. Well, it's a coffee table, so it's a little large, and there's a shelf underneath it that has some stuff, like some little jars, because who knows what I want to use those jars for. You never know when you need one. And it was so loud, it sounded like something had fallen over. Now, I do have like one of those selenite towers or obelisks that has like the chakra system on it. It sounded like that fell over. That's how loud that was. It was just, yeah. Scared the ever living shit out of me. Excuse me. So I look over at the table to see if anything fell over. Couldn't see anything. Now, granted, I do have a cloth on the top of it, so I can't really see what's underneath. But I didn't get up. I didn't go look. I was just trying to figure out what that noise could possibly have been and why that noise was made in the first place. But I really couldn't discern anything at the time. It startled me from a sleeping state to an awake state. So I had no clue what was going on. And it wasn't until actually quite recently, I think a couple of days ago, I went, you know what, maybe one of those jars underneath fell over. But even still, why would it have fallen over out of nowhere? No one was touching it. There wasn't any movement downstairs because we do have neighbors downstairs. There was nothing. But it was so loud, it was as if something was forced, slammed down onto the table. I didn't know what it was. I just went back to sleep. So that happened. And then we hear these really interesting sounds sometimes. My husband gets it more than me in this apartment. I've never heard this anywhere else, really. It's like this crinkling sound of like plastic, but it's like that gift bag kind of plastic, or like the saran wrap, if you will, that you put, or is it saran wrap? It's not saran wrap, but it's that plastic wrapper like on a gum packet or something, like that kind of crinkling. It is the weirdest sound. There's nothing that we have on this desk or even the other one that's behind the couch. There's nothing on either of these desks that would possibly make that sound. And periodically we'll hear that sound. And that happened recently as well. And we haven't heard it for months, if not a year or so. So it's been a while since we've heard it, but we've heard it again recently. So I don't know what the crinkling sound is. I think maybe that something's just letting us know it's in here and it's trying to not be startling. Because most of the time, like what I feel that does come in here isn't really negative. It doesn't feel heavy. It does feel a little weird sometimes, like kind of unsettling, because I could tell that there's an entity in here. But I don't always feel that. So I don't know if it's the same entity. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think it's two separate ones. So we have that happens. My husband has heard a sigh while sitting on the couch. It was next to his ear. He just heard like a kind of sound. I was asleep. So this was really early in the morning. He's a teacher, so he gets up really early in the morning. So even on weekends, he's up at like 7 o'clock and I'm still asleep. Because like I said, I don't sleep very well. So this is just one of those mornings where he was awake. He was on the couch doing whatever he was doing. And he just heard a sigh as if someone was standing next to him. And I think within either the same morning or a different morning, he got up to walk over to the computer and he saw a woman standing in front of the doorway watching me sleep. But the way that he described her, like she was in like this 50s outfit, like 1950s. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's my grandmother. Because it came to my attention that she is around. And, you know, some of these sounds, I wonder if some of it is her. But there's a lot of sounds that he'll hear. And I think it's, you know, one of his that is trying to let him know that it's around. So it's kind of interesting to see that we both have spirit guides or ancestry that is coming through, just kind of hanging around, letting us know that they're here, which is neat, but we don't have names really. I only know that my grandmother's around. My cousin who passed away, if you saw that video of the banshee that I posted, he has come around periodically. I don't think he's come around recently, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But I mean, some other things that do happen in this apartment. So let's see, it was December of last year. So 2025, I had my son here for the week of Christmas. And at this point, we had a bit of a bug infestation. And we didn't know where it was coming from, but we would go into the bathroom and we would just find like 2 or 3 tiny little bugs. They kind of look like beetles, but they're really no bigger than like the sugar ant. So it was really small. We didn't know where it was coming from. Now, my son is very rambunctious. He is quite a trickster. And so I thought that it was him doing this, but I had gone into the bathroom. And as I was washing my hands, because I had found some, I was just like, where are these coming from? And I remember saying that out loud, where are these coming from? And I hear this tapping right behind me on the wall. So it was right where the towels are. And I could not figure out what the tapping was because it was loud enough to sound like it was in the room. If it were my downstairs neighbor, it would be at least a little bit muffled. It wouldn't, the sound wouldn't have carried so clearly all the way up the wall. I'd still hear it pretty well, but it was crisp. It was clear. So I know it was like in the room with me. And I was trying to figure out what is that. So when I left the bathroom, I thought, okay, maybe my son's just being silly. He's in the pantry, knocking on or tapping on the other side of the wall. Well, he wasn't. I even opened up the pantry, there's nothing in there, and I found him behind the couch playing with whatever he was playing with. I was like, okay, I don't know what that tapping was. Come to find out, like a week or 2 later, we discovered that the bugs were all over the pantry. They were in everything. Oh my God, we had to clean out the entire pantry. So they were letting me know this is where the source is. It's in the pantry. Like, all right. So at least I understood that one. Unfortunately, I understood well after they were telling me about it. But, I'm trying to figure out what it is that they mean when they start making noises. But it's only recently that they're really starting to make all these noises. So I'm fine with it. It doesn't really bother me. Maybe the next thing will be moving stuff around. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know. I just want to know what all of this means. I am more intrigued than I am afraid of it. Because this is something that I've wanted, is to really understand communication between them and me, and how it is that they communicate with other people as well, because this helps me understand those that I do talk with. So I don't know. I find it interesting. And I'm really curious to see what other things happen. Now, other things that have happened in this apartment, there's so much that have happened. We've lived here for 3 years. So other things that have happened, I have been touched. I've had my hair played with a little bit, like moved around. I've had my neck touched. This happened all within 2 days. So kind of back to back. This was after my cousin passed away. So I feel that it was him just being a little silly and having some fun on that side of life, playing around with my hair and poking at me, because it didn't feel malicious at all. Like I said, I don't really feel any negative energies that come through here. I feel some weird ones, but not anything malicious. So I just let it do what it was going to do, and it was fine. Other times we have like lights that are going around the floor. It's the ones that have the remote that you can change the colors and stuff. My husband wasn't at home at this point, and this was, again, I think not too long after my cousin had passed away. So this was like 2024. And the lights just turned on by themselves. And I thought that was really interesting, because the remote wasn't anywhere close to where you got to point it to turn it on, nor was it facing it either. So I thought that was really interesting. I just let him have the lights. I didn't turn them off. It's just whatever. We've had the TV turn off by itself just a couple of times. In fact, that happened here recently. The both of us were sitting on the couch and that one happened. I think it was, actually, you know what? It wasn't that it turned off. I mean, it turned off recently, but the time before that, the TV turned itself on. That's what it was. Okay. The TV just turned itself on, which was weird. It's like, all right, so you want to watch the TV, I guess? I don't know. Again, this is after my cousin passed away. I think he was around. And if that's the case, I kind of miss him being around. Yeah, he's just as much a trickster as my son is, so kind of fun. But I've had that happen. I have seen some shadowy things. I hear a lot of like pops and bangs and stuff that happen at night. A lot of it is just the apartment adjusting or like the refrigerator making noise, but sometimes it is very strange. Like I do have a closet that's out on the balcony. Of course, that is going to shift and adjust and make some pops and stuff, but it happens so infrequently. And it only just started happening recently. Like I said, we've been here for 3 years. This apartment was probably 2 years old when we moved in. So it's not new, but you know, it is going to start shifting a lot more the older that this place gets. So it could very well be that. I will take it as that. But we have heard some like bangs on the door, the railings for a while was making this weird popping sound as well. Hasn't done it for a while. Again, first time that it was doing it. So I don't know, it could just be adjustments. But we've had stuff like that. When we first moved in, I kept getting the sensation that, because we don't have like a dining room or anything, so we just eat on the couch. I just get the sensation, don't drop anything on the floor, the dog's gonna get it. We don't have a dog. We don't have any pets whatsoever in this apartment. But I would randomly get that thought. And I would get this feeling of, and even see it in my mind's eye, of this just really joyful little dog, maybe like a medium-sized little puppers that just seemed excited that we were there. And what was really interesting is that even last year, my downstairs neighbor, who doesn't live there anymore, he came up because he was having some issues with his Wi-Fi. So he was trying to figure out what was going on. And he said, "Oh, you have a dog?" I said, "No." I even opened the door up even more. I was like, "We don't have a dog." I was like, "You saw that? You can see that?" It's like, because when we first moved in, I felt that there was a dog in here, but we don't have any pets. He was a little weirded out by that, obviously. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. I guess you can just see some things like I do. But I thought that was really interesting. That was some validation for me to let me know that I really am experiencing some things that I'm experiencing. But it's also validation because my husband sees, hears, and senses things around the house as well. Weird things happen with him too. So it's not just me. This is a very active place. The only more active place I ever lived was in my apartment in Arlington, Texas. I'm in Austin, Texas right now. And I won't go into those stories because that's going to be for another video. I think this one is long enough. But yeah, man, some weird stuff has been going on recently. And the more that it starts happening, the more I'm going to start understanding why it's happening. And I have an inkling as to why this is starting to happen. It's like it's turning on, it's turning back on, and they're slowly doing it. I feel like it's more of letting me know that they are around and that things might amp up here pretty soon. I know why. I've already been informed. My own spirit team, they do talk to me quite a lot. Mostly through animals, but I'll get to that some other time. And I might even talk about some dreams that I've had that were pretty intense and pretty interesting. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. And God knows there's probably going to be some other things that happen here pretty soon that I might come back on here and talk about. But if you really enjoy these types of videos, because who knows, maybe it's validation for yourself that you've been having experiences and you don't know anybody around you that has these types of things. Maybe you feel a little crazy. Well, there's people here on the internet who experience these things, much like myself. There's so many of us. Find us all, hear all the stories. Some of them might sound just like yours. That's why I'm on here putting this stuff, because I went through my entire childhood and into my early 20s not understanding what any of this stuff was because I didn't have anybody to explain any of this. So that's why I'm on here. Hopefully someone will feel like they're not crazy, and feel somewhat normal and start to get a little more curious as to what all of these things are, how to work with it, what they mean, so on and so forth. So if it helps at least one person, I have done my job. Anyway, until next time, I will see you guys in the next one.